It's no argument that smartphones, laptops, iPads, and other mobile devices are used almost everywhere, worldwide, for calling, social media, news, games, and other uses. According to multiple resources, there are approximately 3.5 billion smartphone users worldwide as of 2020. Can you imagine the constant communication between mobile devices to and from advanced wireless technologies? There's no doubts in my mind that wireless communication is one of the most widespread and growing technologies in the world. It's truly amazing. Fortunately, in 2007, radio frequency radiation from wireless technologies was discussed for the first time as a possible factor to the bee decline, according to edtrust.org. As a result, this extreme use form of communication does, in fact, have a negative impact on bees. But how and why does this happen?
Well, to answer that, we first need to understand the basics of how electronic devices communicate with each other. Electronic devices communicate through electromagnetic radio waves, EM waves for short. However, incapable of traveling long distances, they meet with the nearest cell tower to further extend out the signal to the destination tower. Once the signal is received, then the cell tower radiates the information in the form of electromagnetic waves to the phone of whoever you have contacted. However, these electromagnetic waves traveling to or from the cell tower can need the surrounding environment to be exposed by EM waves. This includes beehives. Now, you might be asking, what makes these electromagnetic waves so dangerous to bees? What are some of the effects on bees that make it one of the most contributing factors to bee decline?
In response, when bees are exposed to high amounts of electromagnetic radiation, they start to take on some very unusual effects, one of the main ones being the significant reduction of hatching by queen bees. To show this, let's look at an experiment taken by the source mfdata.org. In this experiment performed in 2018, there were two colonies. One was exposed and the control was not. They're exposed with a regular 900 megahertz phone, megahertz being 9 billion wave cycles per second in this case. The phone was placed in the center hive. There are 15 2-minute phone calls every day, and over a course of 2 weeks, the colony was finally exposed to electromagnetic radiation. As a result, this exposure to radio frequency radiation decreases the queen honeybee hatching by 44%, according to the source. This can essentially decrease the population of a beehive and increase the mortality rate of these bees.
Here's another effect. It can also disrupt a bee's sense of direction. Here's an example. Suppose a bee is flying over a plain to pollinate some flowers. How does the bee know where to go? The bee can actually sense the Earth's magnetic field and use that as a compass to guide themselves. Pretty cool. Now let's say a device is trying to communicate with another device, sending a man-made electromagnetic field, EMF for short. These devices exist from the east and west of the bee. These man-made electromagnetic field disrupts the bee's sense of direction since it cannot distinguish between the north and south poles EMF and the man-made EMF. In fact, the man-made EMF is even stronger than the north and south poles EMF, therefore confusing the bee. This is really terrible as it can no longer get back to their hive. What about the effect on the reflexes of bees when it has been exposed to electromagnetic fields? The results are shocking. A total of 438 bees were exposed to different frequencies of EMF for 1 minute and then measured its PER, which represents the reflex of a bee when its antennas detect sugar. The frequencies are measured in Teslas. If you look at a graph, we could see that the final learning level and the 1-hour retention decrease dramatically as the frequencies rise. The mu, the upside down h, is just a prefix unit of 10 to the power of negative 6, just for you know. Now, let's look at the frequencies from a transmission line. Here, you can see that if the bees go anywhere near the transmission lines, the EMF frequencies can emit up to 102 mu teslas. This is shown in the green area. If we look at our graph, we could see that the PR for that frequency decreased substantially compared to the control group. The nearer the bee is to the transmission points, the more dangerous the effects will be. Other evidence show that the higher frequencies can change the wing beat frequency of a bee, which will ultimately have an impact on the bee's health.
Since a huge number of people are on devices, it's essential for us to spread the word and try to make others aware of the effects too. Keep in mind that these effects kill bees, being a leading growing factor to bee decline. We must try to conserve the bee population, as we all are aware of bees' significance for the environment. Not only that they're essential in providing the honey that we come to expect, but also keeping a cycle of life and reproduction by pollination, helping plants grow and breeding. For example, crops like blueberries and cherries are 90% dependent on honeybee pollination, according to American Beekeeping Federation. But bees cannot do this as efficiently as before. We must become aware of the devices we use around us, as it's devastating for the bees.